guys, my name is Priscilla Elias and today I'll show you how to easily make your photos look like pro with a fast editing tutorial. Just give me a second, I'll grab my computer and I'll be right back. I think one of the first requests I got from you when I started out this channel was, how do you do your editing? And I didn't record this video earlier because 3 months ago, I was starting to create a new identity for my social media and mainly for my Instagram. And in order to do that, I changed a couple of settings in my editing process. So today I'll edit 2 photos with you with 2 different styles and colors. So you see how finding the perfect look is also about personal style and taste. But before we start, you know it well, right? I'd like to ask you that if this video helps you, that you will click the like button, subscribe to this channel, and also click the little bling 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 down here so you will be notified when I release new content. So this first photo was a photo I took for a wedding I did last fall here in Sweden. And I love how beautiful the colors are during autumn, and to me it's always easy to know what to enhance on this type of photos. So here we go. Open up my Lightroom. In Lightroom, we'll go to Develop. Here's where your editing will take place. So the first thing I usually do with my photo is to play with the tone here on this first menu at the right. So what I do is I bring my shadows up, I bring my highlights down, and with that I'll bring up the details of the photo. Then I like to have a little bit of more contrast on my photos, so I bring it up. If you bring it up too much, this is what it'll look like. If you bring it out just right, then it looks good. I bring my blacks down a little bit so I get this cinematic look. I like to have my clarity up. Usually for wedding photos I go at around 20, 25. Sometimes if I go up then 20, the skin just looks too harsh. But depending on the photo, that looks nice because it brings up the details of the photo. I usually bring the vibrance up, the saturation down a little bit, but this is totally up for your personal taste. And here into curve, I split my curve in 3. So what I do is I usually bring the shadows up here, so I get this muted effect. Not too much, just around here to get this vintage look, but not too much. And then I usually bring my midtones up a little bit, the highlights up a little bit as well. So I think this looks good to me. And then I go to colors. For this autumn photos, I really like to bring the saturation of the yellow down and the green down. And also the hue for the yellow and the greens. I just like how it looks more yellowish, so it kind of fits the autumn tones. And also I change a little bit of the hue of the blues, but not too much. And this is about it. Then I go to split toning, and what it does is it brings color to my highlights here. So you see how it changes when I move it here. So I just use it a little bit to bring a little bit of warmth to my photo, but it's really just a tiny bit. And then here in my shadows, I like to have a little bit of blue to them. So you see how it changes? It's just a little bit. To the details, I usually sharpen up my picture a little bit. So I go around 70, 80, and here you can see the details to see if you've gone too far or if it's good enough. So yeah, around 80 is good enough to me. So here in lens correction, I'll just remove chromatic aberration and enable profile correction. It usually just finds out what lens I'm using, and if it doesn't, I can do it manually. So what it does is it just fixes the lens's natural distortion. So you see, you don't have as much of a vignetting anymore, and the distortion is also gone. And then on some photos, I bring my primary blues a little bit over to the turquoise side, but I don't think we need it for this photo. So after I do all this, I usually know if my photo is overexposed or underexposed after the adjustments I just did. And I think it's a little bit underexposed, and I also think it's a little bit too warm. So just bring it down a little bit here, the temperature, you see? This is what it does. So just bring it, if you click it twice here, it brings you back to 0. Then I'll just bring it down a little bit again. And then I'll just bring my exposure up a little bit more. I think I can bring up my shadows a little bit more as well. And then I'll cut this part of the photo where this hand is showing. And what I'll do later in Photoshop, and I won't get into this today because that will be a little bit more of an advanced editing, will change a little bit of this smoke. So I'll get it all throughout the photo. And the final version then is this. So you see, I added some more smoke here. It wasn't there before. This is what it looked like first. This is what it looked like in the end. Before and after. So let's go to the second photo. This is a photo I did at the city center here in Stockholm a couple of weeks ago. I'll just do this photo with the look I'm using for my Instagram right now, so you'll see that I'll do it a little bit differently. And then maybe you can try both or even different versions of editing and just see what works best for you. So first thing, the tone. I'll bring up my shadows. In this one, I'll bring up the shadows a little bit more. You see, when I bring down the highlights, what happened? I get the sky back here. So this is what it does. This is a good example actually, because when I bring up my shadows, I can see all the details on the wall. And when I bring down my highlights, I can see all the details in the sky. And of course, this is just too much. If I bring it up and I bring it down too much as I did here, then it'll just look a little bit artificial. So I'll just get to a point where I don't think it looks funky. Maybe around here. And then I'll bring my black down. And then I'll get my blacks back without losing details. You see, I can still see the details on the wall. And then I'll go to clarity. And for this photo, I'd like to bring it up much more than I did on the other photo. And the reason for that is what's in focus here is a product, is a camera. So more clarity usually looks better in products than it looks in the skin. So yeah, let's just bring it up. It also gives this more dramatic look to the photos, which I really like, you see? We already got this much of a difference. And if you want to see the before and after while you edit, you can just click the slash. For some photos, I use the texture as well. It can be a nice feature. You see, you can see even more details here. Maybe what we could do for this photo is I can use a brush. So you click over here, I'll click over the camera. It's set to exposure, so I'll just change it. Here it sets what I want my brush to be. And what I want it to be is texture. So I'll only change the texture on my camera, you see? This is what I want. Perfect. Now what I'll do here is I'll bring the saturation up a bit, but only because I want the saturation on my skin, on the oranges actually. You'll see that in a minute. The tone curve, I'll split it in 3 again. Then what I'll do is I'll mute up my shadows a little bit, so you get this vintage look, not too much, maybe around here. I won't bring my midtones up, I think it's good. I think my highlights are pretty good as well, maybe a little bit less. Yep, I think this is good. And then we'll go to color. And here is where the editing I've been doing to my Instagram is very different from the photo you've seen before. So I'll bring down the saturation of pretty much all the colors here. So I'll bring down my greens, I'll bring down my yellows, I'll bring down my blues. I'll leave the purple and the magenta, and I'll bring down the red a little bit, not too much. And I'll bring up the orange a little bit. And in hue, I'll leave my yellow a little bit more to an orange tone, see, here in the jacket. And the blues, I want them to be a little bit more turquoise, like this. I think the oranges are good, maybe a little bit down, so it looks a little bit more reddish. And the luminance, what it does is, this is pretty nice. If you want to make a specific color brighter or darker, this is a nice feature. So you see here in my oranges and my skin, it gives you this tan look, or it gives you like a white look. So to me, this is good. Luminance to the reds is good. Split toning, I'll do the same as I did on the other photo. I'll bring it up a little bit here, so I get this warm tone to my photo. And then to my shadows, I'll get these bluish tones. Maybe around here. Good. Let's see what we got so far. It's a pretty big difference, isn't it? Yeah. Then sharpening around 80. Yep. To this photo, I don't want to enable profile corrections because I really like this vignetting I have from the lens. You see what happens if I use this? Of course, that if I had corrected this at first before I did my edit, then I could adjust all the rest according to this. But I really like the look I got for this specific photo, so I won't do anything to it. And then here on calibration, let's see, maybe bring the blue primary a little bit down. Just a little bit. Yeah. And then finally what I'll do is I'll add a mask to it. So I'll add this mask around the subject. And then you see it's set to exposure. This is what I want really, but I can set it to contrast, I can set it to shadow, I can set it to whatever I want. I want exposure, but I don't want it to be up. I want it to be down. So what it does is it'll make everything that's out of the mask dark, you see? And you can make it bigger or smaller as you want. And also you can invert the mask. So you can have your saturation or whatever other feature you're using inside the mask or out of the mask. Inside the mask or out of the mask. I just want it to be out of the mask, but I think I just did too much. Maybe just a little bit less because I already have the natural vignette into this photo that is due to the lens I was using. So let's see what we got so far. This is what we got so far. What I'll do now is I'll set the exposure. Remember, this is what I do at last. I'll bring my contrast a little bit up as well. Exposure a little bit more. I think my saturation is just too high. Usually for my Instagram, I don't use the saturation so high. So just go down here, but then I'll bring my saturation for the orange up because I want my skin to be a little bit warmer and colorful. Then let's bring the saturation a little bit down. Yep, and that's it. Before and after. Now you have some basic editing for light and color. Do you have a better idea of how to start editing your photos now? Please let me know if you do. Tell me what on this video was new to you and what else you would like to learn in terms of editing. Try these tips out and tag me on Instagram or send me a link to the photo you edited down here in the comments. I would love to actually see how this video helped you. I hope you're enjoying your vacations. If you're in vacations, of course. Are you? Because I'm not. I'm really committed to creating new content for you. I'm kind of grounded, you know. I'm not grounded. I love doing this. It feels like chocolate. Yeah, it feels like chocolate. You know why, right? I just love chocolate. You probably know that by now if you follow me on Instagram. If not, why are you still not following me? Well, have fun. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao. Oh, I'll see you in the next video. Ciao! I'm confused.